Okay, well, this morning we have what our answer has been through the whole last couple of years of the virtual environment. It's been our answer to business owner forums. So traditionally through our EPI chapters, we've done owners forums, live owners forums, either a half day or full day. But through these last couple of years, we've decided to go ahead and just do virtual interviews with business owners, and it's turned out really great. So for each semester that we publish, we do three interviews with three different owners from different board members. So it's just to give us some insight and learn a little bit more about what their whole journey has been. And this morning we have Joe Strazzeri is going to be talking with our friend Rob Martinez. And Rob, thank you again for saying yes to doing this. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Shell. Anytime.
All right. Well, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, thanks, Shell. And Rob, welcome back from Italy.
Thank you.
For a little bit of background for all of you, Rob and we worked together. Rob has gone through an exit event where he kept some and has considered another or not. He and his partner have done really, really well. Rob, give me 2 minutes on how did you and your partner find each other and how did you first build up the business?
Sure, Joe. Well, hello, everybody. It's my pleasure and honor to be speaking with you today. So my partner and I found each other, Joe, to answer your question, in that he found me. I had been doing a lot of speaking in our industry. You know, our company is called Shipware, and we help organizations that spend millions of dollars in the shipping arena, in specific, think small parcel, FedEx, UPS, DHL. So we look for organizations that spend lots and lots of dollars there, and then we take them through a process to reduce their costs. I had been very active on the speaker circuit. Trevor had this small fledgling startup audit company that was auditing those same vendors' bills. And he contacted me and we got together for a business development relationship for 2 years. We worked together, mutual lead exchange, and it resulted in a really strong acceptance in the marketplace. And that was 14 years ago and counting.
So somewhere you guys build for the first dozen years. Are you building it to sell it? Are you building it to create cash flow? In the first 10 years, what was the goal?
It was a cash flow business, almost boutique, but we found ourselves, as a lot of business owners do, doing everything, not scaling, not building it to scale, not building it right. And so we had to reset that foundation at a certain point, even though we were very well off. We wanted to create something bigger than just ourselves and that cash flow. And so we reinvested. Instead of putting those profits in our back pocket, we reinvested in technology and people and infrastructure and facilities, benefits, and so on.
How many years would you say it was until that kind of light switch hit for you? Where you said, wait a minute, we're going to build it. Instead of cash flow and take more, we're going to build it.
2016. We founded the business after the couple years of business development in 2011. And by 2016, we decided we wanted to grow it. We wanted to achieve something significant. We wanted to be the single most recognized business in this space. We put that as our vision statement and just started investing. We literally didn't pay ourselves for those couple of years, 2016, 2017.
So what's that like when you go home and say, oh, by the way, honey, we're going to switch now. We're going to go from a major cash flow to not paying ourselves for a couple of years because we've got a dream.
It takes obviously an understanding partner that sees a bigger picture and a larger vision. It also takes, you know, a sense of comfort. You have to have some dollars in the bank to be able to do that and not change the way that you live, which we were fortunate enough to have done.
Perfect. And then do you guys end up looking to sell, or does somebody come to you a few years later?
Well, it's another great question, Joe. We were not looking to sell. We just wanted to grow the business, become that premier brand. And we knew that if we did the right things, hired the right people, put them in the right seats, motivated and incented them well enough, that success would follow. And it did. But what we found in I think it was 2019, one of our biggest competitors sold to private equity for 9 figures. And we said to ourselves, that's ridiculous. They don't have the people we have. They don't have the name brands, the logos that we have. They don't have the revenues we have, and they certainly don't have the reputation and profits that we have. So if they could do that, what could we achieve? And for the first time ever, we were open to private equity conversations and strategic buyers conversations. So it took a few years to sort of build that and then see someone else have that success. But we still weren't really interested in selling. It took several of our other competitors to do the same exact thing for us to say, we're going to be out competed. We're going to be out arsenaled. They're getting, tens of millions, or in many cases, hundreds of millions of dollars that they can buy technology. They can take our people away. They can buy our clients. They can improve their technology. And so it was that competitive drive. It was the fact that we did not want to lose. We don't want to come in second ever. We hate losing more than we like winning. And so we said, we have to do this. It's an imperative, an existential imperative to be able to take money from private equity and reinvest in the business and become something bigger than we are today.
So for you, it wasn't, hey, look, it's time for us to cash out because I built this to a number and I'm going to get a big number. I'm going to divide it by 2 with my partner and go through that. It was other people in our space that are not as good as we are getting private equity money to then invest in their infrastructure and are not taking a salary, doesn't compete with the massive money they're getting infused. Yeah. So for you, it's that competition, not the cash out. So
that's correct. I mean, case in point, full transparency, we transacted October 29th, 2021. So not even a year ago. And it was an all cash deal. So I don't have to be here. Frankly, I'm not compensated to be here, although I did reinvest and re-up part of in this larger strategic that acquired us. And it's a private equity backed strategic. But it's because I want to be here in that same competitive drive that I had back in 2011 when we formed the corporation to today still exists.
So you could have taken a chunk of change. Were you offered a chunk of change where you could just take bigger money and be done? Or were you out there looking for somebody that would give you money to invest, give you a big chunk of change, and still have some skin in the game to ride?
We were open, and not having gone through the process ever before, we didn't know what to expect. We certainly didn't know what we had controls to demand either. So it was through that selection process of getting to know both strategic and private equity and understanding what their objectives were, how they would invest in us, and how they would control or not, and all those other sort of parameters that go into a decision like that, that we ended up deciding to go with this private equity backed strategic that gave us an all cash deal with no strings, no obligations, no earnouts, no hurdles to jump through, and so on. And yet both Trevor and I remain in the corner offices running the show without compensation because we were paid very, very handsomely. So it's the competitive drive, I think. It comes right back to wanting to win.
So did an investment banker find you, or did you find an investment banker to walk you through this?
We went through a process. Probably overly burdensome and overly extensive process. We interviewed 20 private equity companies, and then we selected the top 6. And we had a powwow here in San Diego. All of them flew in, and we gave each 2 hours, and it was an all-day affair. It's a 12-hour marathon affair. And we wanted to see what their vision was for us, how well they understood our business, the competitive landscape, those other deals in our space that had transacted, who they thought some of the strategics and private equity relationships were that we should have conversations with, what they felt our valuation should be, and so on and so forth. And it was through those conversations that you kind of fall into, there's always, not always, but in our case, there was a clear front runner, and we selected that business.
Well, what was the space, or what was the range in your valuation? Did all of those final 6 come up with a valuation that were really close, or were the numbers different?
They were surprisingly close, and all in the 9 figures, relatively within a narrow band. That being said, there's probably 100 million front and out of the 6 that came to us. It's probably 100 million range, but all of them in the 9 figures. So Relatively close.
And then what caused the one investment banking firm to be out front? What was that caused you to think, oh, they're the clear front runner?
Oh, so many things. Their varied backgrounds and expertise. This particular company does about 200 deals of our size a year or higher. They specialize in that mid-market, 100 million to 500 million, about 200 deals a year. They had extensive expertise in financial modeling, which we didn't have a lot of. We did not have a CFO at the time. So they had excellence in product and market development and technical analyses and tax planning and legal and advisory matters and other things based on their expertise that just said this company can lend us more value. And also price is important. We were able to negotiate what we felt was a very fair and market competitive rate with this organization.
Right. So you were surprised that you could be in the driver's seat with a buyer, but you had no problem being in the driver's seat of negotiating with all these suitors that wanted to take you to market.
They made it very clear in the initial conversations prior to our RFP, prior to the responses, prior to flying out to San Diego, that was the case. The tone was very much, we will do anything to get your business, from every one of them from day one.
And that meant a lot to you.
Well, it's important, yeah, but we took it humbly. We certainly didn't take advantage, but we think that it's important to forge a relationship where the other side has interest, economic interest, to see you succeed. And so we created a tier structure with a minimum guarantee that incented our partner. The more we were able to make, the more they would make. That their multiples would go up significantly upon structured tiers.
Sure. Did you have to add other people to your team that you didn't have in your life up until then?
Not really. My partner and I, and then another key operator in our business, who was our COO at the time, with a CPA background. The three of us were able to put this together and work with the investment banker, and then the investment banker supplied all of those other things we didn't have. We did have great legal counsel as well, a major firm out of Chicago that we hired to help us through the process.
How'd you find the legal firm?
So, recommendation from my partner Trevor is in YPO, Young Presidents Organization. I'd be in there as well, but I've eclipsed the 50 mark. They throw you out at 50, throw you into another organization. And so in his forum,
Hence the young.
Although I feel young, the recommendation came out of his forum with other folks that have done multiple transactions, built and sold many businesses.
Sure. So did your first due diligence offer go through? In other words, a suitor came up, you go through due diligence. Was it the first one?
No. The due diligence process now you're talking about with the suitors. No.
Yes.
We had an unsolicited offer from a strategic public company that offered us what we ended up transacting for a year and a half later, or maybe 2 years later because of COVID.
Right.
Just before COVID, we had this company make us an offer that we should have accepted. In our ignorance, or rather inexperience is probably the better term for it, we demanded too much, and we asked them to counter. We didn't counter. We asked them to counter their own offer, which they did. They improved the deal, and we felt like we were just maybe leaving too much on the table. There was that big gap in ranges. Talked about equity valuations.
Sure.
Investment bankers were like, wow, it's good, but it's not great. Maybe we should not do this. And so we asked them to counter then, and they just said, these guys are amateurs, we're out. And I still regret that moment, because then COVID hit. We had 2 years of uncertainty, unprecedented growth coming out of COVID, but uncertainty in the first part of COVID, and it delayed our process and our sale another 2 years.
And the number came out close to what the first one would have when you were finally done?
It came to the second offer, the counter that we did get them to make. It came to
Yes.
the exact same number. However, there was an earnout component.
So there was a quote unquote earnout, so it would have created a little uncertainty. were you required to keep chips on the table with the first deal?
Yes.
Cool. Now, the deal you finally took, you were required to keep chips on the table. Why were you, did they demand that you stay and you keep a certain percentage on the table, or did you want that?
Well, we negotiated our deal, and it was an all-cash offer, and then we asked them to increase their deal. As if we didn't learn the lesson from we did the same thing again, but this time they said, sure, but we can only give it to you in equity. So still no earnout, and again, no obligations to stay for it. I have no employment contract, yet I continue to run the organization, which is fun. It's also important to note, though, that their strategy has been to cobble together smaller organizations, and we were the 5th such organization, but we are, to this day, half the people, half the revenue, half the profits. So we are the flagship part of the brand. And
Sure.
so one of the reasons that they acquired us was because of our growth, our culture, our people focus, our accountability, and other things they found attractive, as well as our revenue model. We figured it out. We figured out how to produce revenue in an automated way that would apply to those other 5 business units. So our job is almost taking Shipware's model and blueprint and applying it in those 5 other areas. And so far, it's been less than a year. We've had a lot of success.
So the company that acquired you just as much for your profitability as they did for help our other channels as well.
Yeah, profits and process, yes.
Very cool. You and your partner are really close. You've been together how many years now?
Well, we met in 2009, so a number of years.
And then through this process, even the suitor that went away, or and the suitor that you ended up finally going with, what's it like when the two of you just close the door and start talking about the deal? Are you in complete alignment, or does it require discussion?
It's one of those weird partnerships, Joe, that we're almost always in alignment. We really do run the company together, and I think we form the partnership together based on a set of values. We have core beliefs, core set of principles that we don't divert from. It's our corporate values today. It remains the same today. But once you share those values, and there's less variance, if you operate around, that's your litmus test, are making decisions around those values, then you're going to reach alignment in more cases than not. I can count in our, 14, 15 year relationship together, I can count on one hand disagreements that required a cooling off period. Less than 5 or less. Very unusual.
That's a great partnership. And you had to bring in some external team members when you were in the middle of this deal. How many of those did you have to bring in? New professionals?
A lot, but a lot of that had to do with just the fact that COVID created an environment where shipping proliferated. FedEx and UPS had more business than they know what to do with. To this day, they remain swamped within their networks. Their service performance is terrible to this day because they got so much business coming out of COVID. So people stopped going to malls. We all started ordering online, and they were the beneficiaries of that. Well, by relationship, we were also beneficiaries of that. So sure. We went into COVID with 28 employees, 28 only. We came out of COVID with 58 employees, and then we now have 163 employees.
Oh my goodness. So you go into COVID with a deal. You're going to close you could have closed for a number. You push a little too hard. Then suddenly COVID hits. Yep. There's the, oh my God, what's going to happen to us? Then it's, oh my God, we're going to do really well. And you double or triple, and you're still doing it. Oh.
Yeah, and the interesting part was when COVID first hit, remember airlines shut down for a little bit. Nothing was moving, nothing was flying, nobody was shipping anything. We went into this state of uncertainty, unknowingness, and nobody was buying anything. We didn't know what the funding was going to look like. We didn't know if our outstanding payments would be, if our customers would pay us. We had this huge payroll as we continued to grow the business, and we never did a single layoff. We asked the employees for a 2-month period during that time of uncertainty to take a 10% pay reduction. And we told them that we won't pay ourselves a nickel while we asked you to temporarily reduce your salary. And we didn't. And so, but it took 2 months. We started realizing that we are getting paid, and shipping is starting to continue and grow, and we're going to be just fine. And Triple P helped. We didn't take the second loan, but we took the first loan. That helped us. So, but that's an important part of the lesson is not to panic, is not to lay people off. My good, think about that growth that we had, Joe, doubling in size in that 1 year period in terms of headcount. So had we been so short-sighted to lay people off, that would have been bad. It also would have affected morale incredibly.
Sure, and your ability to
tell you, I'm also happy to tell you that at the end of the year, because of that growth and profits, that we shared profits that were 10 times the 10% that they had for 2 months. Yes. So it worked out really well for everybody.
So they had a good run. How about bringing on the outside people? You had to bring in, you were approached by a variety of financial institutions, lawyers, CPAs, some you were finding through IPO, some you were finding. What was that all like?
Challenging, but if you surround yourself with people that you trust, and you were one of those advisors, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm happy to say, at knowing that we had this liquidity event, we needed to find not just CPAs, sell side attorneys, but we also needed to find some estate planning experts, and so we found you. And so, so many strategies, so many meetings that we had to get to where we got. But it's just part of the journey and part of the effort you have to do something the right way.
And you were approached by a variety of financial organizations because there was the deal to happen and then there was money to manage. How many of those come at you?
All of them. Yeah, they still do. I don't know. Somehow, I guess when you sell your business, you're on some public list because they know who you are, and even though it's a private deal, a lot of them even know the terms of the deal. I don't know how that happens, but everybody's interested in helping you. So it's I have 5 financial brokers because I think it's probably too much for a single individual and too much responsibility. And I'm also, as you know, I'm a very competitive guy.
Sure.
So let's see performance. Let's see how the 5 of you do, and we'll allocate funds towards those that are performing the best.
And are they doing about the same, or are they radically different amongst the 5?
3 are about the same, but it's a very difficult market, as you can imagine.
Yes.
22 performance has not been fun. And then 2 are underperforming. And I saw Mark's question. Mark, we did discuss the investment bankers. Yes, we did. And Joe, I don't know if you care that I share which investment banker we use. I have no problem sharing that information.
That's fine.
Yeah, we used a company called Duff and Phelps, and we had one of the senior partners was our lead guy in the negotiations. But really smart analysts and business managers that we worked with on a day-to-day basis. They were fantastic, and I'm on their reference list. I'm happy to anybody who wants to, a business owner that wants to know about my experience through the investment banking or the private equity, the sale part of the business. I'm happy to share my insights, learnings, and learn from my mistakes because we made a few of them.
What are the top 2 or 3 things that Rob and Trevor know today that you wish you knew 5 years into your business, and also that you wish you knew right before the process of considering sale?
Well, the biggest one, it was the tax consequence of having 2 member companies inside of an LLC, which didn't allow us to capitalize on lower taxes upon exit. I also wish that I had more time to plan alternative strategies. And Joe, I don't mind sharing with your audience that you helped us do some of those things, but some of them were kind of last minute. And so we weren't able to fully maximize the value of some of those tax mitigation, tax planning strategies. So 5 years in advance, we would have been able to change the corporate structure accordingly and put us into a capital gains scenario instead of ordinary income. And we could have had a little bit more time to set up certain trusts, Nevada-based trusts that could have mitigated some of the California tax.
Sure. And then, of course, there was a deal that was happening and that didn't happen. And it gave you a little time for the second one, thank God, but it still caused strife. What are some things that you wish you knew when you were 6 years into your business that you ended up doing later besides that?
It was right around that 6-year mark that Trevor and I decided to really reinvest in the business. I wish I had done it sooner. So, but it was, your specific question, at 6 years, what do you wish you'd done? I wish I had just made that decision earlier and invested in people and process and the plan, and not had my nose so much in the business, working on doing everything, literally doing from sales to the actual work that we do to help clients save money, to speaking at conferences and marketing. I mean, running the company, doing everything, to really trusting, training, hiring the right person, and trusting them to do what we ended up doing many years later by empowering people to be effective leaders, so we could step up and take a much more strategic role and work on our business than in the business.
Beautiful. Rob, thanks for the time this morning. As you all can tell, Rob and I have different backgrounds at the moment. You could start to see light because I'm traveling, but Rob is in beautiful San Diego at the moment. Shelly and Lena, thanks very much for setting this up. Rob, thanks for spending the time with me this morning. I very much appreciate our relationship, but I very much appreciate you being willing to do this.
My pleasure, Joe. And if anybody would like to take advantage of connecting with me directly, I'm rob@shipware.com. ROB@shipware, SHIPWARE.com. Joe, good to see you as always. Shelly, thanks for the invitation. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks for getting up in the middle of the night, Joe.
Hey, it's starting to get light. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.